When I was a kid, I loved to avoid my classwork by drawing little characters. They tended to have some lore, but I never really expanded upon them. But when I was in 6th grade, I wanted to challenge myself and create a comic. At the time, I watched a lot of shows like Ninjago and Avatar, so it was no surprise I landed on the mystical superhero motif for the plot. Now, I don't really know the correct order when making a comic, but I started with the characters, main character first. I knew it had to be someone who was smart, strong, caring. 11-year-old me was going to make themselves the main character, what did you expect? But I did end up justifying my self-insert by putting everyone else in my class in the comic as well. So this was my character. Yeah, I don't really know what I was going for. Was I a cat or a bat? Is Batman going to sue me for this? And my powers were fire and storm, although I don't think I ever came to a conclusion on what my powers were. I think it was just magic in general. And like I said, I put my classmates in the comic as well, so I should state now that the characters that I made were not an accurate description on how I actually viewed them as people in real life. I just kind of slapped a name on a stick figure, gave them a power, and called it a day. I don't even think it registered at the time that they would read these comics and formulate opinions on how I interpreted them, because to me it just was not that deep. And looking back, the story was very plot-focused, so the characters didn't really have much personality anyways. And I'll change the names for obvious reasons, but there was Zach who had a flaming sword, Zoe who had super speed, Ryan with this inferno core thing that could summon meteors. It was pretty cool, to be honest. The red and white ninjas who can turn invisible, and finally my brother who had the same powers as me. You can see that my character design skills were, kinda bad. I planned to put everyone in my class in the comic, but I graduated before I could finish. Also, there was this kid who I didn't really like that much, so I made him a villain as an inside joke with myself. Now, I worked on this comic at any given opportunity. I would skip recess, neglect my classwork, and I even brought it with me to snack time, which was not a good idea. Once I finally finished an episode, I would make copies and hand them out to all my classmates, and I got pretty popular with these comics. Everyone would look forward to my next episode and crowd around me while I was working on it to watch the process, so I was basically living what I thought a life of fame was to an 11-year-old. But now that I'm older, let's do a critique. Was this worth the hype? Well, kinda. I really wish I had the original copies to show you guys, but I lost them when I moved, so I'll have to go by based on my memory, but yeah, there were some issues with the comic. Character design was one, obviously. Also, they never actually used their powers. It was just a lot of dialogue. Speaking of which, the layout of the speech bubbles were horrendous. I had the number in which order the dialogue was spoken in so you could actually understand what was going on. I mean, how hard was it to put the dialogue in order? But honestly, this could all be forgiven since a literal 11-year-old wrote this. As for the plot, it wasn't that bad actually. It was kind of confusing, and I was only able to get out 4 episodes, but I did know the story that I wanted to tell. So let's actually get into it. I'll do a little retelling of the episodes. I'll try to keep everything the same so you can get a feel for it, but I'll likely add some creative interpretation since I am going based off my memory alone. Alright, Episode 1, The Origin, by LOL Studios. So it all starts with me and my brother flying through the air. My brother is already an established superhero, but it's my first mission. As we were flying, we were spotted by a witch, who was actually the one that called for help to get us out here as an ambush. She reveals herself, and my brother recognizes her as a continued nuisance for him. She says that she just bought a new wand off the black market to defeat my brother with. Since I'm inexperienced, I charge in head first. She's about to blast me with the wand, but my brother jumps in front of it, saving me but getting hit in the process. He gets knocked out and starts plummeting to the ground. I go after him, but I'm too slow. We wake up in the hospital. He says he's too injured and that his hero days are over. He gives me his mask and a pamphlet for his old dojo. Your old dojo? But didn't you say that? It's changed a lot since... the incident. Besides, it's your only option. I'm too injured to train you. I'll be sure to avenge you, brother. End of Episode 1. So dramatic, right? Okay, let's continue. So Episode 2. My character arrives at the dojo, which is really worn down, and is greeted by Zach and Ryan, who seem pretty neutral about her joining. She gets acquainted with her surroundings, and we get info on Zach and Ryan, their powers, flaming sword, and inferno core. They say there used to be more members, but they recently all got kidnapped mysteriously one night. Why didn't they get kidnapped? The warning alarm goes off, and they all go to see what the threat is. Now remember how I said I made a kid who I don't like the villain? Yeah, this is the villain. They were supposed to be really huge, but I didn't know how to convey that as a child, so they just ended up taking up the entire panel. Which was kind of funny, because there wasn't any room for the dialogue, so I had to write it sideways. On the scene, there's a girl who seems to be working for him. This is Zoe. We try fighting this monster, but we get bodied, so we shift our attention to talking to Zoe and end up converting her to our side, which was very easy. I think only 2 words of dialogue was spoken between them. Whatever, new team member. So because she worked for him, she knew his weakness, which was a huge gem on his back, which she promptly destroys. Oh yeah, she has super speed, I think I mentioned that earlier. So now Zoe's a part of the team, and why didn't they see that huge gem earlier in the fight? I don't know. The episode ends with the witch coming across the monster and fixing its gem. Ooh, what could this mean? Episode 3. We all start heading back to the dojo, but since Zoe has super speed, she zips ahead of us, knowing the exact location of the hideout despite us never telling her. But suddenly there's a huge explosion, and the red ninja appears. Now, I can't really remember this interaction all that well, but he says something about bringing all of us to his master for some sort of plan. Zack and Ryan both recognize him as being there on the night that the other members of the dojo were kidnapped. The red ninja tries to capture them as well, but the white ninja suddenly appears and stops him. He tries to reason with his apparent brother that what he is doing is wrong, that his master is delusional and has turned evil, but he doesn't listen. Since it's now 4 against 1, the red ninja retreats, but not before saying that if Zack and Ryan want to find the missing members of the dojo, then they have to come to his lair. He then vanishes. Remember, the red and white ninjas have the power of invisibility. We ask if the white ninja wants to join us, and he refuses, but says that their destinies are intertwined and they will meet again. Episode 4, my final and most intense episode, so buckle in. Zoe and I get caught up on the history of the dojo. It was once the most popular dojo in the city, but after an incident which predated their enrollment, the numbers became less and less over the years. Even Zack and Ryan don't know those specifics, but they heard rumors that it all circulated around the old teacher of the dojo and how he was the reason a lot of people left. But one day, he vanished, and nobody knew where he was. After that lore dump, we all decide to go to the Red Ninja's lair to retrieve the missing members. But oh no, it's actually a trap and we get captured. From the shadows, the teacher emerges. Dude, we were just talking about you. And behind him is the kidnapped members of the dojo, but they're all mind-controlled. He gets right to the point and says that he plans to create an army to fight against a great evil, and because no one was willing to fight, he had to make them. He comes closer and looks at us. He's about to say something, but he focuses in on me. You. Where did you get that hat? It's my brother's. He pauses and leaves to make a phone call. Wait, a phone? What era is this? Okay, well, anyways, he comes back to tell us his lore. He talks about his young days when he was still just a student at the dojo, but he was trying to become a teacher. To do so, he had to pass a test. It was a competition between all of the students, Hunger Games style, so only one student can pass. He says that my brother used to be a member of the dojo as well, and he was actually really good friends with him. But on the day of the competition, he started acting really different. When it was just the 2 of them left, he said some creepy stuff about taking over the world and struck him down. Even though he won, he then unenrolled from the dojo, never to be seen again. The teacher knew that there was a great force of evil within him that day and vowed to stop him. And now that he had an army and me as a hostage, he could finally do that. By the way, this lore dump was just 3 panels of straight dialogue, no pictures, except for this one. So it's then revealed that the person that he was on the phone with was my brother, which honestly makes no sense. He vanished, yet you have his number? Were you guys texting buddies or something? It would have made more sense if he had taken my phone to call him, but whatever, let's just pretend that that's what happened. And then there's the big confrontation, where my brother tries to explain himself, but he keeps on getting interrupted, but boring. I didn't choose to focus on that. The confrontation between these 2 apparent lifelong enemies, who cares? I think what had happened was the episode was just getting way too long, so I had to cut it short. So the white ninja from before sneaks in and frees us, and we all escape with the knowledge of what happened to the missing members of the dojo and how my brother supposedly used to be evil. The episode ends with a cloaked figure looking through a crystal ball saying, "Interesting, very interesting." End of episode 4. Wow, that was long. I know it was a lot of lore, it got kind of messy at the end there, but that's it. That's the whole story that I was able to complete. Now, I know you guys are totally dying to know what happened next, so, spoilers, but my plan was that on the day of the Hunger Games test thing, it would have turned out that he was actually possessed by the evil spirit, the guy in the cloak at the end, and my brother and the teacher would team up to defeat him, but I never got that far. And there's still some plot holes, like why was Zoe a servant for that monster guy? If my brother was an established superhero, wouldn't the teacher know that he wasn't evil? And why did the witch end up reviving the monster? Maybe she was recruiting him so they could all team up in some epic epic final battle. Me versus the witch to get revenge on my brother and the teacher versus this thing in a cloak to resolve whatever happened in their past, and the rest versus this guy. Maybe he gets an actual backstory and we get some information on his connection to Zoe, so it would have been this whole dramatic thing. Oh, you know what? Here's what I should have done. I should have made Zoe a spy that was hired by the witch to kill me, because that honestly makes so much sense. It would explain why she was so easily persuaded to our side, as well as the fact that she knew where the hideout was without us telling her, and that's why the witch was with the monster at the end, because they were all connected. Oh, it would have been this whole thing, so much drama. Maybe she learned that being friends with us is better, and she would have betrayed the witch, but who knows what I would have ended up doing in the end if I had finished it. It's all lost to the void of things never to be finished. It's not like I'm gonna pick this up in the future and continue it. So yeah, that was the comic I made. Quite a wild ride that was. Ever since I lost my copies, these stories have been lingering in my head for ages now, and it feels good to finally make a video about it. I'm curious to know if anyone else made comics as elaborate as these when they were kids. None of my classmates did, so please let me know the plotline down in the comments. I wish I could leave you guys with some profound ending about the lessons learned along the way, but no, this was just a funny comic I made as a kid. So yeah, thanks for watching.